Yeah, so brothers, man, this is another route that we had. We was walking towards when we were, going into the scriptures. So this is going to be the area that we're going to stay in for the time being. In terms of this very day. So it's just the word has to continue to go out, man. That's all it is. So yeah, read on.
Yeah, so we're back in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12, and it says, "Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed."
Right, and she that bare you shall be ashamed. So who is the mother of this horn? Great Britain is that horn. All right, Great Britain is the mother of that horn. Excuse me. So by the likes of it, by the looks of it, when you read these articles about the whole situation with the EU and Trump being in the midst of that, we see that they don't respect the man anymore. Okay? So in other words, what we're seeing also is that they're ashamed of America. All right, and it's all leading towards that point. I just wanted to recap my train of thought based on what I was saying. So yeah, by the looks of it, let's read that again one more time.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12, "Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed."
So let's look up that word confounded.
I'm on Jeremiah 50 and 12. I look up confounded.
So read on.
Yeah, and it reads, "Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness."
Right. So what does the word hindermost mean? It means at the end of the earth, the end side of the earth. So what particular landmass is at the end of the earth? We call America today. That's the end part of the earth. So that part of the earth is going to be what? Let's read that again.
And it says, "The hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness."
Right. It says there shall be a wilderness. You see? And that's exactly where it's all going to lead down to, man. It's all going to lead down to America being a desert. And these missiles are shot forth. And this is why we're hearing rumors of wars, and we're seeing a world war happen right under our nose. So let's look at the word confounded.
Right, so this is the Strong's H953. It says Bush, but it says the pronunciation is Bush.
Okay.
And it says to put to shame.
Wash, right? Wash.
To put to shame, be ashamed, be disconcerted, be disappointed.
Is that the word confounded?
That's the word confounded.
Okay, yeah, so as it stands right now, the spirit that's in the air, as we can see, is that England don't really like America because you have this one guy, Donald Trump, which he's pretty much making a mockery out of the whole nation of Edom. Okay, because at one time Trump was down here and they did not want to see the man come down here. So that spirit of being ashamed of America is here. It's in the midst. Prophecy on the top once again. You see, they're being ashamed of their leaders. And the main leader, which is which the main influence of the world is America, which is Babylon the Great. Okay. So let's read that again.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 12. "Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed."
Right, and that's what we see. We see that the British people are ashamed of America because you have this guy in office, Donald J. Trump. And it just goes to show you that through the spirit, he's got to be the guy, man. He's got to be the guy to end the show. Because there's been no other president that's actually made a show out of themselves and made even people of Britain to be ashamed of America. He's that guy. He's got to be that guy. Okay, he's the guy that everybody hates now. Go on, brother.
"The hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land,
Right.
and a desert."
So it says in hindermost part of the earth is America, because America is at the very end part of the earth. When you look at the word hindermost, let's look at that word up on it. The word hindermost. Yes, go on.
And it says, "And and the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert.
Right, a dry land and a desert. So this is the end part, the land that's in the end part of the earth. Let's look this word up now. Go on.
So, it's Achareth.
Is it?
Achareth.
Yeah, Acharaf, yeah.
It says after parts,
Acharayah or something like that. Go on.
end. It says latter time, prophetic for future time.
Yeah, so just in other words, what it's saying is the end. It just means the end. So the end, Salakia, the hindermost part of the earth is a land. There's land that's there that people are dwelling in, and that land is what you call America today, which was named after an Italian navigator, which his name was Amerigo Vespucius. So in that land, what is this land going to be? Like a wilderness and a desert. Let's read this in prophecy. Go on.
And it says in verse 13, because of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited.
Right, and because of the wrath of Yahweh, it should not be inhabited. Because great wrath will befall that land real soon. Okay, and this is why people like J. Robert Oppenheimer, as I'm quoting most likely nowadays, this is why people like him created the Smith and created all of these different things. Okay? In other words, these weapons that they're going to use of mass destruction. You see, that's what it's all going to boil down to. So that prophecy can be fulfilled. Go on. No matter where we go, brothers, we're going to have demons around us.
And it says, because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate.
Right, this should be wholly desolate. The word holy means completely desolate. Look up the scripture in Isaiah 13. So much so that you're going to have desert creatures that are going to have that land. You're going to have desert foxes, snakes, lizards, scorpions. All right, all of those desert creatures that you see in the desert, they're going to be there. Satyrs are going to dance there, it says. All right? Yeah, start from verse 5.
That's Isaiah 13 and 5. It says they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land.
Right. Let's read that again.
It says they come, Isaiah 13 and 5 says they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord and the weapons of his indignation.
Right, so those weapons of the Lord's indignation are going to come far up from the earth and bring the whole destruction that is ready in that land. It's going to happen. Okay? And this is why you're having all of these problems within these prime ministers and presidents. Because it's all leading up to that particular moment in time. You see?
Yeah.
So when you look at the world around you by watching the news, instead of watching Coronation Street, instead of watching X Factor all freaking day, when we look around us, and we're circumspect, what do we see? Shalom, brother. We see the word of the Lord coming into effect. This is what we see. And this is what's going to change the world. The prophecy spoken of in his Bible, the major ones are that's going to bring the end of this world. It's going to change the world forever. Go on. So if what happened in the 9/11 attacks, if that was able to change the world to a certain degree, how much more the things that's written in this Bible? You see? And it's going to change the world so bad, so much so, that the world is going to have to draw their attention towards the people of the Heavenly Father. Because in the midst of all of that drama that the Lord is going to bring, in the midst of all of that, the Lord is going to deliver the elect. And people all around the world are going to see the strange salvation of Israel, which were the Israelites, by the way. Okay, just to put it to you like that, we're the Israelites. We're no longer blacks, we're no longer West Indians, we're no longer African Americans, or none of that sort. We are the Israelites. We are the real Jews that the Bible speaks about. And the world is going to recognize that eventually anyway. So let's read on.
Right, so it's verse 6. It says, "How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty."
Right, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. So the Almighty is going to be instrumental in bringing this destruction. Like I said, this destruction that we're dealing with right now is going to change the world. So bad, so much so that, like I said, everybody's going to be drawn towards the people of the Heavenly Father. The same people that were looked down upon and scoffed and scorned about are the same people that are going to arise, right? And they're going to be exalted as they should have been from day dot, and they're going to be considered the sons of God. And then to add the icing on the cake, we're going to get the spiritual power. So even on that, it's going to be declared the sons of God. Because see, the different nations, they're not going to get the spiritual power. See, what Esau's trying to do, and I didn't sit down with this. What Esau's trying to do, Esau's trying to get to that kind of level of spiritual power on the left-hand side. And this is why, if you look into transhumanism, in the midst of this whole transhumanism thing, did a video on this. What they're looking for is everlasting life. That's what they're looking for. Esau's looking to get everlasting life by using the technology that he has. But the whole concept of everlasting life, that was only meant for the people of Jacob. That was only meant for Israel. That wasn't meant for Edomites. You see, so what Esau's trying to do, Esau's trying to get to that godlike status. But how can he be a god when they're not the sons of God? Only the sons of God can become gods. The other nations, they're just sons of men. So in the kingdom of heaven, they're going to just be in the flesh, like how we're in the flesh. Why do you think it says in Psalms 82, right, where it says, "Ye are gods, but we shall die like men." Who are the men that we should die like the other nations? In other words, we're going to be in the flesh like the other nations. When in really, in fact, we should be gods. But we're going to get that back anyway. Okay, go on, brother.
Verse 7, it says, "Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid.
Yeah.
Pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them.
Right.
They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth."
Yeah, so break that down.
So read that again.
It says, "Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth."
Right, because if you look around, man, you know, there's a scripture that speaks about the man that built his house upon, was it sand? And then there's the one that built his house upon a rock. When the waves and the wind blew.
Yeah, that's in Luke 14. Somebody get Luke 14.
That great was the fall of that house. All right.
No, I think it's something.
So now there's another scripture that talks about don't bind up treasures on earth where dust and moth doth corrupt, but bound up treasures in heaven. Now it says the scripture that the brother has read, how their faces shall be as flames. You know, they'd be in a very horrific state, basically. Okay, how ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand, it shall come as a destruction from the mighty one. The people shall be in travail as like a woman. Okay, the reason why they're in travail is because they were binding up treasures on earth, man. They were binding up all their hopes, their expectations. If you go around to people, they've got their own individual aspirations in their personal life, what they want to be, where they want to be in the next 5 years' time, what they want to get. You know what I'm saying? They got all their plans, and none of their plans none of their conversation is talking about the kingdom. They're not talking about the kingdom. Yeah, I'd love to be in the kingdom. You know, sitting upon the throne. I'd love to be a servant for one of the Most High's men, man. They're not thinking about that. That's my greatest aspirations, to be a servant for one of King David's government leaders, man.
Yep.
They're not. That's not their greatest aspiration. They're buying out treasures on earth. So as soon as that missile comes, that's when their faces shall be as flames, man.
And then their
Because
expectations.
all their aspirations are gonna be dissolved within a heartbeat, man.
You know, should use, brother, the word blacked out. The inspirations are going to be blacked out.
It's going to be blacked out. You have something?
The Matthew 7. So this is Matthew chapter 7, and I'll start from verse 23, and it says, and then will I profess unto them, actually, sorry, 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock.
Right.
And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock.
Right, so who's that? A wise man. I would liken the saying of man unto a wise man, okay, that built his house upon a rock. So we're likened unto those wise virgins.
Right.
Those wise men.
Yep.
Okay, who trimmed our lamps, okay, and the Lord found us doing so. We were still occupied, okay, and so we built our house upon a rock. We were buying up treasures in heaven because of the faith, that gift that the Most High gave us. He allowed us to have a vision to see the kingdom and trust in that faith, man.
Speaking
to
of
the
the
point
word-
where our
Yep.
actions show our what we believe.
And speaking of the word vision, the scripture says that when a man has no vision, it's like when the people have no vision, the people perish.
People, exactly. So when the person have no vision, no faith, they're gonna be destroyed. Okay, so likened unto a rock, the winds blew, the rain fell on it, and the house stood firm. So meaning we're not just, how should I say? There are men standing here that shall not see death.
Yeah, Mark 9.
So we're not gonna be destroyed. We're still gonna remain, even when that destruction comes. Why? Because we're gonna receive salvation. The Most High is gonna take care of His holy elect. His angels encampeth around them that feareth Him. Do my holy prophets no harm, man. So that's us, the wise men found upon a rock. Okay, so continue reading.
Verse 26. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto a foolish man,
Right.
which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
Right. And it said, likened unto a foolish man, the foolish virgins, the 5 foolish ones. So you have the 5 wise ones, and you have the 5 foolish ones. The 5 foolish ones, they didn't put no oil in their lamps. They weren't on top of their game, man. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't moving in wisdom, knowledge, or understanding. Having no stability. Okay? They were too busy in the world, man. That's why I said they built their house upon what? When they built the house upon?
And it says, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not shall be likened unto the foolish man which built his house upon the sand.
The sand, man. So when the waves come, have you ever seen you built a sand castle on the sand and the waves come and trash that sand castle, man? You're gonna be no more. So that's what's gonna happen to the majority of these people. The scriptures tell you in the Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras, it says, be likened unto a drop. There'll be many of them shall perish, then be saved, man. Many of them shall perish, then be saved, like unto a drop. It's smaller than a wave, man. The people is gonna be the amount of people is gonna be like unto the wave, and the amount of people is gonna be saved is gonna be like unto a drop. All right. So that's going into what this brother has said, how their faces shall be like a woman in travail, man. Because they're all this one that don't apply to us. That don't apply to the elect. The elect ain't gonna be like that. That's the 2/3 of our people and all the rest of these heathens, man.
As a matter of fact, we're going to be the happiest men on the planet on that day. I know I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is what we look for is a whole nother setting. You know, we don't look towards this setting, anything of this setting. And the world that we're under is pretty much a crashing ship. It's a burning ship. Let me use that analogy. That's what this system is. That's what this society is. So it's really pointless trying to, you know, get your college degree and try to do all of this extra stuff and trying to make you know, make the best of this society, because there's nothing here. I mean, just look around on every aspect of this society, every aspect of this world. Relationships don't work no more, like me and his brothers was talking about. People are getting together just so they can be together for 1 minute at a time, and also the amount of jobs. You know, people are going to college and doing all that they can do to get a good job. They're not getting these jobs. They're working in what do you call it? They're working in these miniature jobs, working in McDonald's and the likes, and KFC. And they're not getting paid the amount of money that they work for in terms of going to school. So what does that tell you? You know, you can get a lot of degrees in this society, but yet and still you won't get the job according to your degree. So what does that say? That says that the fashions of this world is slowly, gradually passing away. Okay, there was a time and a place where this society had the zest, it had its flavor, it had its time. Now it's out, it's finished. And it's so bad that people are not even having kids anymore. So that, even on that aspect, that shows you we're at the end. And the younger generation are much more worse than the older generation. Go on, brother.
You used the analogy of this society being like a sinking ship, and I'd like to use the analogy. Trying to build up in this society is like trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic. That's not going to stop it from sinking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going down.
So this when you really put two and two together, it's more, you know, it's more of a better investment to invest in this truth than to invest in the world, because this world is going down, man. It's going down. The whole world. I mean, you have countries all around the world that are rioting. You have the people of France rioting. You have the people down here that are protesting over this Brexit. You have people in Venezuela, Bolivia, etc. that are rioting because people want to get their just due. But what the sad reality of the fact is that there's nothing for these people in this society. Society, the people that control the society have nothing much to offer the people anymore. And that's what they're going to realize when the economy crashes. And that's why the people are going to be shitting themselves. And their inspirations on what they wanted to do, it's going to be blacked out. Go on, bro.
Just to coincide with that, so when you look at the morals, man, the morals of this place are all-time low. So you know, so that's a sure sign that this place is going down. Let alone, you know, what the brother's talking about, and also businesses are failing on a high scale as well. A lot you're talking about businesses that are really big that have been around for decades, man, and they're crumbling.
They're crumbling, yeah.
So there's all these signs that are showing you that we're getting towards the end now.
Yeah, and dealing with the moral aspect of the people believe all kind of nonsense now. People have been given to believe all kind of nonsense that they wouldn't have believed in 70 years ago. You see? And I don't have to go into that into deep detail because I don't need to do that, but you brothers know what I'm talking about. You know? So even on that's a sign of the end. We're in the end of this world. We're not the end of the planet. We're at the end of this world. What is this world? The revival version of the Roman Empire.
Right. It's first heavens and first earth.
The first heavens and first earth, which will be done away with real soon. So yeah, read on.
Alright, so back in Isaiah 13.
We're just going tick for tack. That's all. Go on, bro.
So yeah, I'll read 8 again. It's Isaiah 13 and 8. It says, "And they shall be afraid, pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them."
Brother, if you can get me what is it? First John the 2nd chapter.
They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed at one another.
Yeah.
Their faces shall be as flames.
Right.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof of it.
Yeah, and that's just the thing. So what we were talking about on the brief is that this society has not much to provide for the people anymore. And this is why people all around the world are rioting, they're going crazy, they're depressed. There's more young people that are committing suicide than what the stats say. Okay? And even people that have even middle-aged adults too, everybody's committing suicide in this day and age. So what does that tell you about the world of living? That tells you that society's breaking down. But it's going to break down and lead to a point of the Lord's wrath and destruction. That's the end of this place. There's no maybe the society will come back to the good old days. No, the good old days are done. And we know this for certainty and definitively. Why? Because we're the prophets of the Lord. That's what we know. You know, we don't have to walk around and think to ourselves, well, maybe the good times will come back, or maybe not. There's no maybe or if. There's no maybe or maybe not. We know for certainty, for truth, that this place is sanctioned to go down.
That's right.
You see? Because, I mean, come on, man. A place like this couldn't go on forever anyway.
Couldn't, man.
Because look what it was established by. It was established by violence. Yeah, a lot of people like to say, well, you gotta forget about slavery. You gotta forget about the slaughtering of the native people in America. But see, when you start something in violence, it ends with violence, man. It always does. So a society such as this couldn't prolong itself anyway. It was destined to fall the minute the Lord set Esau up. Esau was already done before he even got set up. This is real, man. Like, go on, bro.
Scriptures,
go on, brother. Yeah.
Scriptures call Esau a fugitive, and a vagabond, man. Fugitive meaning he's trying to escape justice, meaning he's a criminal, man. He's a natural born criminal, man. You know what I'm saying? He's a genetic criminal. That trait is in his spirit, man. Going all the way back to his ancient forefather Cain. Okay? So people are gonna seek to kill him anyway.
Eventually.
Like Cain. Like people, he said that people will seek to kill him. You know? Because of what he did to his brother, man. You know? To balance foot for foot, life for life. That's the natural law of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally Esau is gonna get brought to justice
Anyway.
People seek to kill him anyway. Yeah. That's also the great assembly of nations shall be gathered against him.
Right.
So that's the Most High is gonna bring justice to Esau anyway, bro.
So I mean, there's no getting around it. There's no trying to escape it. There's no loophole at all. There's nothing there that can lead you to escape justice or judgment. It is what it is, man. All Esau can really do is say, he's sorry, and say, look, man, you gotta forget about this, and you gotta forget about that. But what we have to go back to is we have to go back to what the Most High feels about that. We have to deal with nature. How does nature deal with things? This nature that we're existing in was created in His knowledge. So let's get Numbers 33, Rabbi Bashar, please.
Yeah.
Because when we look at West London as a whole, we basically books, West London was built on the backs of our ancestors. This whole entire system was built on slavery. So if it was built on slavery, right, the wrong kind of slavery, then it's gonna be taken out. And this is what people don't want to. They don't want to hear this. They want to hear what's sweet in their ears. Go on, brother. Yeah.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 33 from 1.
No, not from the top. So like it all the way down to where it says the land. The land. Because see what Esau's been doing for years, man. All they've been doing for years, especially these Edomites down everywhere, their attitude is just put everything under the rug. Just put anything under the rug. Everything that we did wrong, we're just gonna just put it under the rug and forget about it and turn a blind eye to it. But nah, all of that dirt that you put under the rug, the Most High sees right through the rug. You see, the Most High seen all of that dirt that you're trying to hide. Okay, there's no secret place that you can. There's no secret place of the Most High. The Most High, the eyes of the Lord is beholding in every place. It tells you that in the Apocrypha. Okay, so you can't hide anything from the Most High. Okay, what happened in the slavery? That was like what 12 hours ago in the timeline of the Most High. Come on, man. You remember what happened 12 hours ago? Come on, man.
Right. It's in the book of Numbers 35, verse 33. And it says,
35, 33, come.
and it says, so we shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein,
Exactly. Go
but
on.
by the blood of him that shed it.
Exactly. So that's what's going to take place. It says that blood defileth the land. And the blood of that land cannot be cleansed until his blood be shed. So how is Esau's blood is going to be shed? By way of nuclear destruction.
It said the third part of men shall be killed. Revelations. It says in that same hour there was a great earthquake. And it says the third part of men shall be killed.
Right, which is the
for
wicked.
a day, for an hour.
Yeah.
The missiles were like horsemen. The front was like a serpent.
Yeah.
The front was like a lion. For to slay the third part of men. That's Esau, the sons of the wicked.
Yeah.
That's Esau.
There you have it. There you have it.
Because it tells you in Revelations, if I can get it, it tells you you're going the right way.
That's the spirit. See, the spirit led you to the scripture.
This is Revelation 17, verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration, because America is drenched with the blood of the Israelites. There's even DNA, man. There's even test tubes of soil, man. With the blood of the slaves, man. Can you imagine that? I didn't even look into it, but I just read the title because I was at work at the time when I looked into the title, update on my notifications, and it said that they've actually got test tubes, man, of the soil drenched in the blood of us, man. Can you imagine that? That's how deep the slaughtering that Esau did, man. That the earth itself is contaminated with the DNA of our ancestors, man. That's the amount of slaughter that these motherfuckers did. So you gotta imagine, these are the types of people, this is where these people are coming from. And that's what they had to do to get to where they are now.
Right.
That's the level of killing they had to do to get what they have now. So Esau, that's how you know Esau was a nobody. If Esau was a somebody, he wouldn't have to kill that much people because he was already a somebody, right?
Right.
But because he was a nobody, he had to kill that much people to get to where he is now.
Right.
Showing you, he must have been a nobody, man, a real blood clot, no one, man, to kill people by the millions like that, to get to where he is now. He must have been at the bottom to get that much, to get through that many people, to get to the top.
Right. But you know what, it goes to show you the blessing. What was the blessing of Esau? The sword. So he was the killer from day dot, going back to his brother Abel, Cain and Abel. So all Esau had to do was do, because see the thing with people that cheat, people have to cheat because they're not strong enough to compete. So they have to cheat in terms of getting to where they need to get to. And Esau, as the scripture says, is weaker than Jacob, right? So if you're a weak individual, spiritually, I mean, you're gonna try and find any avenues to cheat to get to where you need to get to. So by him killing a lot of people as much as he can, that was their way of cheating their way to the top. And that's all Esau ever did. Even when you study the Rothschild family, that's what they did. They manipulated their way to the top. They was playing with they was playing around with the money, right? When you actually go into the history, it's been a long time, so I'm a bit rusty with the whole history of the Rothschilds. But the point being is Esau manipulated their way to the top. They didn't get to the top in well doing. They got to the top in ill doing.
In ill doing. It tells you that in Sirach, through riches got by the sea,
Right.
and injuries, the kingdom shall be translated.
Right, and people were injured as well.
One thing I want to say is that the test tubes with the soil, with the blood of us in those test tubes, that's just off of